Welcome to Kazakhstan and welcome to the most populous city in Kazakhstan, Almaty.
Local time is 8:40 PM. The outside temperature is 24 degrees.
Welcome to a new country and welcome to a new vlog. So in this vlog I'm probably going to share with you guys my first impressions of Almaty, Kazakhstan. Unfortunately, these first impressions have not had a good start. Okay, so right now we're walking to Zenkov's cathedral, also known as the Ascension Cathedral, which is in the middle of one of their parks. So we're just going to have a look at that because that's probably one of the most famous things you can do here in Almaty. And then there is a viewpoint that you can go up to as well. We are only actually here for a day, but we are coming back next week. All right, so here we are. Oh, that's really nice. They've got a Tai Chi class. I am a huge fan of Tai Chi. So one thing that you can immediately tell when you come here, and I'm sure this is going to be a common theme when I go to the other Central Asian countries, is it's not very busy. It's very big, but it's not very busy. And I think Kazakhstan is not a very populated country at all. It's one of the largest countries, probably the 8th largest country, maybe the 9th in the world. But there's only like 2 million people that live here. So it's very, very empty, but it's got a nice feel to it. Very empty, as you can see. Very, very empty. It is a Monday, granted. Maybe it's busier on the weekend, but I have to say it feels very safe actually. Maybe because it is half empty, but it just feels very safe. It was called the Ascension Cathedral and it's called the Zenkov Cathedral because he was the engineer. Right, let's see if we can go inside. I wonder if it's okay for me to have my camera. I'll wait and see. Very beautiful inside, definitely worth coming to, and to be honest it's one of the main attractions in Almaty, so you probably will come here anyway. There is for women a headscarf, because I think you are required to wear a headscarf inside. However, they do have scarves for ladies that you can just kind of take for free. You don't need to pay for, which is good, which is great. And he was perfectly fine with me taking photos, so that was nice too. So because this is a first impressions video, it probably only makes sense for me to start with my first impressions, which unfortunately were really not great. The worst travel experience I think I've ever had was when I landed here. Taxi drivers will always try and con you, it's a known thing. I was told by the hotel, because I'm actually only staying in Almaty for one day, and we're going to Bishkek today because we're on quite a tight schedule. We are going to come back, however, then we won't really have any time to do anything ourselves. Myself, you are with me. So that's all going to be on a tour, so that's why I'm just wondering now. But anyway, I was told by the hostel, because I booked a hostel because I'm not actually staying the night because I'm going to Bishkek. Now they said don't pay more than 2,000 to 4,000, so 4,000 Kazakh money for your taxi. I was tired. Some guy goes, you need a taxi, and it wasn't really clear who was taking you where or who was doing what. And there were two people, one driving and him. So I felt uncomfortable immediately, and he told me 1,000. He said 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. So I was like, okay, fine. Turns out it was 1,000 starting with a tariff afterwards. So basically it ended up being 40,000, which is 10 times the price that I should have been charged. So obviously I contested it, because that is like $60. Like, am I an idiot to pay $60 when I should pay $6? Had a massive argument with them. They were just insistent. Obviously they wanted their money. I told them that I'm not giving it to them. They said that they're going to take me to the police station, or they'll take me back to the airport where the police are waiting for me. They'll deport me, they'll do this, they'll do that. Obviously I was really angry, just really uncomfortable. I've never actually experienced something like that, and maybe it's my fault. I'm stupid for not, I don't know. Uber wasn't working for me, and their other taxi app, I can't download it because Google Play is just rubbish. So yeah, that was not a great experience. In the end, I ended up paying them $30, which is £25, something like that, which still is extortionate when I should have paid £5. So I paid 5 times the price. And compared to Baku, obviously it's kind of the same price as Baku, but Kazakhstan is a much cheaper country, so that just should not have happened. It's very unfortunate that that was my first impressions of the country. I know it doesn't represent the whole country, it doesn't represent my experience of the country, so I'm not going to kind of let it put me down, but I was absolutely more than conned. They tried to rip me off. Really awful experience, actually, the worst travel experience I've ever had. And at that point, I would have honestly have just wanted to go to Bishkek straight away. That experience in itself was enough for me to say, you know what, don't even come to this country. But I'm not going to say that, because I don't think that's fair to the Kazakh people. I don't think that's fair to the country, because of some dodgy taxi drivers, which frankly you get in a lot of countries, but it's just a shame that this has happened to me here. Alright, so we are at another monument. This one has faces carved into it. I love things like this. I mean, it's so Soviet, and I don't know enough about the history of this monument, or the history of a lot of monuments here in Kazakhstan, whether they were built during the Soviet Union or whether they were built after the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, when Kazakhstan got their independence. But it would be really interesting to know, because obviously I believe it's still a communist country, but you've still got these grand statues and... Oh wow, I actually didn't look at it. Fine, considering it says Moskva, if you can read Russian. I've been learning to read in preparation for this trip. All I can read though is Tashkent, Bishkek and Almaty. And Moskva. Yes, that's right, Moskva. So considering it says Moskva, I'm presuming that this was built during the Soviet Union, but it's just impressive, you know? believe there's a group from Germany here. I'm trying to listen with my very limited German. So I believe, again, they use Cyrillic, obviously, because a lot of people, most people here speak Russian. But I think they also use Cyrillic for the language Kazakh. I think same in Kyrgyzstan, maybe in Uzbekistan. Looks like a World War One. No, that's my dates mixed up. 1917 to 1920. I don't know what that signifies. World War One was 1914 to 1918, so that much I know. Right, this one is definitely World War Two. I'm gonna presume that's World War One. It's a really nice monument. And obviously behind you've got the Ascension Cathedral and an eternal flame there. I'm always trying to practice my Russian. So Moskva, Leningrad, Belgrade. Is that supposed to be Belgrade in Serbia? I think it's in Serbia. Kiev, Minsk. That's in Belarus. Oh, this one's missing a letter. But Volgograd, I don't know what that one is. No, see, yeah, this is not going well. Myanmar. It looks like Myanmar. I don't think it says Myanmar. I can only read Russian, by the way. I don't know what I'm saying. The only thing I know how to say in Russian is "Этот не мой велосипед," which means this is not my bicycle. Duolingo only taught me that much. Unfortunately, I did not progress with my lessons. I'm just obviously reflecting at the same time, and I've been telling my friends about the awful taxi driver and whatever. I was saying, even if he tried to charge me $30 or whatever, I would have been like, whoa, hang on, mate. But charging me like $60 is just taking a number out of absolute thin air for a country that, frankly, it's so out of proportion. It's basically like a taxi driver in the UK charging you £250 for a ride to the airport. It was a joke, actual joke. And I'm still annoyed, but I'm just going to say this. As someone who's travelled a lot, I shouldn't have done that. If anyone ever approaches you and asks you if you need a taxi, always say no. Always, as an absolute rule, no matter where you go in the world, say no. Go to someone and find someone with a taxi that is either an official taxi or has taxi written on the top. Don't ever respond to someone who asks you if you want a taxi. Just say no and just walk away. It's really interesting. They've got like buses, like trams, but they're buses. So they've got this whole kind of network system. Really interesting. I am not in the right frame of mind, unfortunately, because of the events that happened this morning. And so I'm going to try and go to Bishkek 2 hours early, because also I've heard the views are very beautiful. So I want to see that in the day. Look, their money is so beautiful and colourful. Okay, so I have to apologise, folks, because I thought I filmed the whole fiasco, but apparently I did not. So the drama did not end at that first taxi ride in the morning. So I decided to go to Bishkek early, and the initial bus I was going to get was at 4 p.m. And it's a 5-hour bus journey from Almaty in Kazakhstan to Bishkek in Kyrgyzstan. That journey runs through the mountains, so I wanted to go at 4 p.m. so that basically it was still in the light so I could see the mountains. But I thought, okay, I can't bear to stay in Almaty any longer, so I'm going to go to Bishkek early. The earlier bus being at 2 p.m. rather than 4 p.m. So I got to the bus station, which was half an hour away from the city centre, and I arrived at 1:30 p.m. The bus was at 2. I went to the ticket desk, and basically they don't speak English. This is one thing you'll learn. They just don't really speak English in Central Asia. They speak Russian. Same like in Tunisia, their second language is French. In Central Asia, their second language is Russian. Anyway, they either said that the bus was full and there were no more tickets, or the bus had already left. That bus itself is quite easy to actually use, but you can't buy tickets online beforehand. You have to go to the bus station and buy your ticket from the bus station. So the earliest that I would have got there anyway was 1:30. So she said, okay, well, the next bus, I said, okay, well, the next bus is at 4 p.m., right? She said, it would be, but that one's not running today. So the next one's at 6 p.m. She goes, but you should buy your ticket now before that one sells out as well. At this point, I was like, you're joking. You're absolutely joking. Because it's 1 p.m. now, the bus is at 6 p.m. and it's a 5-hour bus journey, so I'm going to get to Kyrgyzstan at 11 p.m. and I have a tour starting at 8 a.m. the next morning. I was so extremely stressed. At this point, there were no plugs in the bus station either. There's not really any food in the bus station. It was very hot. So I bought the bus ticket. The bus ticket was like $5, which was, again, neither here nor there, but I bought it to secure my ticket. And I sat there for maybe half an hour just thinking about it. Like, I'm going to sit here for 5 hours, only then to sit on a bus for another 5 hours. Is that something that I want to do? You can fly from Almaty to Bishkek. It is a half-an-hour flight, but it was expensive. Rapid thinking. I had rapid thinking. I had 28% battery left on my phone. I illegally downloaded the app that I needed to do via Google. I probably shouldn't admit to that on camera, but anyway, and I booked a taxi to the airport, and whilst I was in the taxi to the airport, I then booked my flight from Almaty to Bishkek with Air Astana. That was a little bit more expensive and it was more than what I wanted to pay, but I tell you guys, a credit card is a wonderful thing. So I just had to do it for my own sake, and even then I could not relax until I was on that plane. Finally, I was on the plane and I made it to Kyrgyzstan for 6 p.m, which would have been the time that the bus would have left. So it was a really, really stressful day for me. It was the worst travel day I've ever had. It was traumatizing enough to go through that taxi experience where they locked me in the car, and then to have to go to a bus station, not be able to get to my next destination. It was really, really stressful. But I hope you watch the rest of my series from Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan. I do go back to Kazakhstan and we are going to give it a second chance, and it's definitely worth it. So I hope you enjoy this series. I'm sorry this was a bit of a Debbie Downer for a first video and first impressions, but yes. Anyway, please like, please subscribe. As always, we've got plenty more videos coming from Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. These places are some of the most mind-blowing destinations I've ever been in my life, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.